Welcome to 21 Grams. This space was made for moments like this. Not the highlight reels, not just the wins, not the days where everything feels figured out, but the quiet ones. The nights when the numbers don't make sense, when the bills feel louder than your peace, when you're doing everything you were told to do and you still feel behind. This episode didn't come from a single bad day. It came from conversations, things people have said to me in passing, late night talks, moments where someone paused and said, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but something feels heavy. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but something feels heavy. And the truth is, a lot of it stayed with me because I recognized myself in it. Some of this is what I've been carrying, some of it belongs to people I care about, but the feeling is shared. Tonight, I'm not here with answers. I'm here with honesty. This isn't about fixing anything. It's about naming that feeling so it doesn't keep naming us. And lately, I haven't been feeling good. Not in a loud way, not in a crisis way, just in that quiet, lingering way where life feels heavier than it should, and you can't quite tell when it started feeling that way. So if you're listening to this while driving, sitting alone, or lying in bed staring at the ceiling, this episode is for you. There's a kind of stress that doesn't hit you all at once. Let's talk about the low hum of stress. It doesn't crash in, it just hums. You don't wake up panicked, you wake up heavy. Before you even get out of bed, you feel it. Not tied to one single thought or one single problem. Just this sense that there's already so much waiting for you. You check your phone and something tightens your chest. Not because of bad news, but because of what might be there. An alert you haven't opened yet, a balance you already know but still check, like it's going to change. That moment where your thumb just hovers because once you look, you can't unsee it. It's bills, it's balances that feel like they barely move no matter how careful you are. It's checking your account before you do something simple, like grabbing food, ordering a coffee, saying yes to a small plan. Not because you want to, but because you have to. It's seeing money leave before you even touch it. Automatic payments, subscriptions you forgot about, expenses you agreed to in a different season of your life. It's that quiet reminder that money keeps moving, whether you're ready or not, whether you caught your breath or not. And after a while, that does something to you. You're not reacting to what's happening anymore, you're embracing for what's next. It's like you're in the grocery store and you're not shopping, you're calculating. You catch yourself doing math on every item, every decision. And it's not because you're cheap, but because you're careful now. It looks like you don't fill the tank all the way, just enough. You wait a day before paying something just to see what clears first. You think twice about replacing something that's worn out, things like shoes, a jacket, something you'd normally just take care of. You tell yourself things like, it can wait, it's fine, not because it is, but because you are the thing that keeps getting postponed. And sometimes it shows up in how you think about work. You stay a little longer than you need to. You take on one more thing you don't really have the energy for. Not because you love the work, but because it feels safer to stay busy than to risk falling behind. From the outside, none of this looks like struggle because you're functioning, you're working, you're doing what needs to be done. But inside, it's tiring in a way that sleep doesn't fix it. And the hardest part, life doesn't stop asking things of you just because you're tired. You still have to show up. You still have to smile. You still have to say, I'm good when someone asks how you're doing, because explaining it feels heavier than carrying it quietly. Life doesn't stop asking things of you just because you're tired. Let that sit with you for a little bit. What really messes with you isn't failing. Let's talk about effort without progress. What really messes with you isn't failing, it's trying and not getting anywhere. You're not avoiding responsibility, you're not checked out, you're working, you're showing up, you're doing what you're supposed to do. And yet somehow it still feels like you're behind. You make a plan, you sit down, you look at the numbers, you budget, you tell yourself this month will be different. You cut back where you can, you say no to things you actually want to say yes to. You try to be disciplined, careful, intentional. And then life happens. A tire, medical bill, broken glass, something small but expensive, something unexpected that doesn't ask if you're ready. And just like that, whatever moment or whatever momentum you thought you had, it just disappears. Sometimes it shows up in moments you don't expect. Someone asks how things are going, and you hesitate before answering. Not because things are bad, but because they're not where you thought they'd be by now. It looks like you watch people your age talk about trips, homes, upgrades, new cars, next steps, and you genuinely feel happy for them. But there's still that quiet voice in the back of your mind asking, what am I missing? After a while, it starts to mess with your confidence. Not in an obvious way, right? Not in a panic or frustration. Just quietly, you start questioning yourself. You wonder if you're doing something wrong, if you missed a lesson that everyone else learned, if you're bad with money, or if the system was never designed to give people room to breathe. Those are the type of questions that show up. The hardest part of that is there's no finish line for effort. No moment where someone taps you on the shoulder and says, you've been trying long enough, here's some relief. So what do? You keep going. Not because you feel hopeful, but because stopping isn't an option. Let's talk about the job that never satisfies you or the job that no longer fits. Here's something I don't say out loud very often. I don't really enjoy my job anymore. I don't really enjoy my job anymore. And even saying that feels risky because it still pays the bills, because people depend on me, because from the outside, it looks like stability. Nothing's wrong with it. The work still gets done. I still show up. I still handle what needs to be handled. But something changed. The spark isn't there the way it used to be. The purpose feels thinner. And every day, it takes a little more effort to convince myself this is what or where I'm supposed to be. It's a strange kind of grief, right? Outgrowing something that once felt like security, something you were grateful for, something that helped you build a life. But here's the thing, you don't hate it enough to walk away, but you don't love it enough to stay fully present either. So you exist in this in between space, grateful, resentful, loyal, tired, all at the same time. Grateful, resentful, loyal, tired, all at the same time. Sometimes it shows up in small moments. Sunday night, when you feel that shift in your body, not dreading it, just heaviness you didn't notice earlier. Or when your alarm goes off and your first thought isn't about the day, it's about getting through it. Isn't that something that when your alarm goes off and the first thought isn't about the day, it's about how you're going to get through it. Then your day starts and it goes a little something like this, right? You watch the clock more than you used to. Not because you're lazy, but because time feels heavier when you're somewhere your heart no longer lives. You watch the clock more than you're used to. Not because you're lazy, but because time feels heavier when you're somewhere your heart no longer lives. And the hardest part isn't the work itself, it's the awareness, knowing that you've changed, knowing what once fit doesn't anymore, and still needing to hold on to it. You see, what scares me isn't change. What scares me is not change. It's not knowing how to change without risking everything I've worked so hard to keep together. So for now, I stay. Not because I'm comfortable, but because responsibility doesn't disappear just because your heart moves on. And that right there, and maybe that's where the real weight lives. Not just in the money, not just in the work, but in what it takes to keep all of it looking steady. Because even when things don't fit anymore, you you don't get to fall apart. You still have to function, you still have to be reliable, You still have to carry it in a way that doesn't make anyone else uncomfortable. And that leads me into something we don't talk about enough. And that's the pressure to be okay. There's a certain expectation that comes with being the dependable one, the one who handles things, the one people don't worry about. When you're that person long enough, it becomes the version of you everyone knows. So even when you're tired, even when you're unsure, even when something inside of you feels off, you keep it to yourself. It looks like answering, I'm good automatically. Not because it's true, but because saying anything else feels like opening a door you don't have the energy to walk through. Let that settle in for a second. I'm going to repeat it. It looks like answering, I'm good automatically. Not because it's true, but because saying anything else feels like opening a door you do not have the energy to walk through. There's no space to be halfway okay. You're either fine or you're a problem. And most days, it feels easier to stay quiet than to explain a weight that doesn't have a clear name. So you carry it. You carry the tiredness, you carry the doubt, you carry the questions about where your life is headed, all while making sure everyone else feels steady around you. And after a while, that kind of strength gets lonely. One of the heaviest parts of all of this is the pressure to be okay while carrying all of that, to function, to keep up, to not let the cracks show. If you're the strong one in your family, the reliable one at work, the calm one in the room, you know how lonely that can feel. Hold on to this thought. There's no applause for endurance, and there's no recognition for silently holding things together. And after a while, you start wondering when is it your turn to rest? Or if rest is something you have to earn by breaking first. Is rest something you have to earn by breaking? I don't know about that. Maybe. Let's name this weight. I think I want to call this weight life weight. Tonight isn't about fixing anything. It's not about getting your finances perfect. It's not about quitting your job. It's not about figuring out the next 5 years of your life. That kind of clarity doesn't come on demand anyway. Tonight is about something simpler and maybe harder. Naming that weight. Because when something stays unnamed, it sinks deeper. It settles into your body, your sleep, the way you move through the day without even realizing why everything feels heavier than it should. Sometimes the weight shows up in quiet ways, kind of like you sit down at the end of the day and realize you don't actually want to do anything. Not because you're lazy, but because you've been holding yourself together since the moment you woke up. But you finally get a moment of silence, and instead of feeling relief, you feel tired in a deeper place, like your mind never really clocked out. That's life's weight. Not one problem, not one bad decision, just the accumulation of responsibility, uncertainty, expectation, and time. Struggling doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're responding to something real. Feeling tired doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're carrying more than most people will ever see. And questioning your life, your choices, your direction, your pace doesn't mean you're ungrateful. It means you're awake. It means that some part of you is paying attention and asking for honesty instead of being on autopilot. Sometimes the most truthful thing you can say isn't, I know what to do next. It's simply, I don't know what to do. This feels heavy. And there's relief in that. Not because the weight disappears, but because you're no longer pretending it isn't there. Tonight, that's enough. Just to notice, just to name it, just to call it what it is, life's weight. Before we go, take a breath. If all you did today was survive, that counts. If you didn't make progress, but you didn't give up, that matters. There are days when just staying in the game takes more energy than people realize. Days when the win isn't growth or clarity, it's just endurance. You're listening to this and wondering if anyone feels, anyone else feels this way. You're not alone. Not in the tiredness, not in the doubt, not in the quiet pressure to keep it together. And this season you're living right now doesn't define you. I had to learn that the hard way. I had to learn that it's just a chapter, one you're moving through and not stuck in. This season doesn't define you, it's just a chapter. It's one that you're moving through, not stuck in. A chapter that asks for patience, not answers, honesty, not perfection, and a little grace with yourself, especially on the days when everything feels heavier than it should. If tonight gave you even a moment of relief, even a small exhale, hold on to that. You don't have to solve everything right now. You don't have to be okay all at once. You're allowed to pause. You're allowed to rest without quitting. You're allowed to carry less. This is 21 grams. Thank you for spending time with me. And if this episode met you where you are, or if you know someone who might need a little reminder, pass it along. Like always, I'll be right here for the next conversation.